Hi, my name's Romy. My little baby Casty is just here. Hello, little baby Casty. This is my little baby Casty. And today I'm going to do kind of a story time. I guess it's a story time. I've talked before about how I used to have a YouTube channel years and years ago, like 2011 to 12, and I ended up deleting it, and then last year I came back. New channel name, similar type of content, to be honest. And since returning to YouTube, I've had this idea and this wish to make a video that kind of shows my support, I guess, for the organisation Hope for Paws, because way back in the day I made a P4A video, which was Project for Awesome, if I remember correctly, and the charity that I was speaking about in this video was Hope for Paws, and I sent a link to this video I made where I was talking passionately about how much I loved the organisation and how inspiring and perspective changing their videos had been for me, their amazing rescues and the work they did and continue to do. I actually sent a link to that video to the Hope for Paws website, and a few weeks later I got a reply from Eldad, and it was just such a exciting thing to happen, to get a response from this person you look up to. And then he actually shared the video, and I had like a lot of people come and watch it, and it was just really a joyous thing to happen. And ever since I came back to YouTube, I've been wanting to kind of reassert my love for Hope for Paws, because that original video is not there anymore, and I still love the organisation, their videos and their rescues and their passion for helping animals and their kindness towards people and creatures, and just their love and positivity really resonates with me. And I was thinking last night, and this idea came to me, and I thought I could share my own animal rescue. And so this is the story of how I rescued some feral kittens, and it didn't go exactly to plan. So I would like to dedicate this, my own rescue video, to all of the amazing people that make up Hope for Paws. The vets, the foster carers, the nurses, the rescuers, and most particularly Eldad, Loretta, Lisa, and Joanne. I've got myself a nice cup of tea, and I think it's time we start the story. Okay, so this happened, I thought it was in like April or something, but the time has flown, and I have just checked my Moomin daily diary, and the day that it all started was January the 22nd. So it had been a really big, tiring, kind of stressful day, and we were sitting finally ready to have our dinner, and it was just that time where the sun has set and the rest of the world is just starting to go dark. I don't know, is that twilight? And we just sat down with our food. We're in our sunroom, so we're looking out onto the garden, and my mum says to me, "Romy, I just saw a kitten." And I look and I can't see anything. We are kind of in a rural area, so unfortunately there are feral cats or stray cats that just kind of turn up and wander around, and people just let them roam free, I guess. So it's not that unusual to see a cat wandering about. Our own cat hates it. My dog hates it. But whenever I go and try and feed them or talk to them or kind of try and win them over with a little smile, they run away. So I wasn't that surprised, but I also didn't think it was a kitten. I thought, it's a cat. I looked out the window and I couldn't see anything, but my mom's like, "Romy, there's a kitten." And then I'm pretty sure she was like, "Oh, Romy, there's two." And I looked and I saw this tiny little kitten, and then its mum was there with it, and it was on our property, and I was like, right, I am in to get these kittens mode because they were tiny, they are kittens, they need help. They should not be out in the wild. So, do you want to hop up on the bed for this rescue story? So I went outside. This is probably like 8:30, 8:45 in the evening. It's the end of a really hot summer. I'm in my night dress. I go outside and I see a kitten run up along the fence and its mother go not with it but in a similar direction, and I follow them. I look up along the fence line. I see the mother again, but I don't see the kitten, and as I'm coming back down, my mum says, "Romy, there's one in the tree." And I was like, "No, it went up that way." She's like, "Romy, there's one in the tree and another one went the other way." So I look in the tree and there's this tiny little black kitten, and I'm instantly in love. So I climb into this tree, which is like a two-pronged big forked tree, and I climb up the tree after the kitten, and it just goes higher and higher, and I go higher and higher, and then before my mum can get on the other side of the fence to catch it, because it's like not coming towards me, nothing's going right. I know it's either going to come to me or it's going to try and jump, and it looks like it's going to try and jump. It drops, and then it's off, and I jump down from the tree. My night dress gets caught on a bit of barbed wire fence and tears, and it had just become my favourite night dress, but I didn't care. I wrenched it off. I looked through the paddock. I tried to find it. Nothing. I came back. There was no sign of the mother or the other kitten. I went around looking for the kitten, which had gone the other way. Nothing. So I go back inside. I get some food. I put the bowl out. And by the time I'm back out with the cat food, the mother is back. She's sitting about 10-15 meters away and watches as I dollop cat food, very smelly cat food, into this bowl for her, and I go back inside and we eat our now cold dinner. And as we eat, we watch, and it gets increasingly dark, and the mother comes down within a minute or two and eats her dinner, cleans herself, has a look around, and then she goes down in the direction that the second kitten goes. And she comes back about 2 minutes later with this tiny, gorgeous kitten. And then, I'm not sure in what order, but then the other two appear and they all stroll off together, the mother and her 3 little kittens. And I was so worried for them and anxious, and I knew we had to make a plan. So the next day we did a scout of our property, and we have these big wood piles on our property, and I was having a look, and we went around the front of the wood pile, and there was a kitten looking out, kind of sunning itself in between these massive piles of wood. And my mum kept its attention at the front, and I snuck around the back and climbed up onto the wood pile behind it, reached out and got it. And that was the first kitten down. And this kitten was feral and terrified and had what looked to be a pretty gross eye infection, but it was the most sweet thing ever. There was nothing else in sight. We bundled it up into some material so it wouldn't keep scratching me, put it in a pet carrier, and took it to the vet. Now, I don't know, and I don't think we ever found out how old the kitten was, but I'd estimate it was about 5 or 6 weeks. But it was very, very small. And we knew there was a mother and there were 2 more kittens and they needed rescuing. So the 22nd of January, we spotted them. The 23rd of January, we caught the first kitten. So the next day, after no more kitten sightings and that first kitten off to the vet, we went to our local RSPCA and we hired a animal trap. And I can't remember, I don't think it was a specific cat one, but that was all they had. Our council couldn't provide us with one, so we rented one, and it was a $50 deposit and then $5 a week. And later that afternoon, after bed hours, who was in the trap but the mother. No sign of either of the kittens, which I started to get really worried about, but we caught the mother. On the 25th, my mum took the mother to the vet. The kitten that we'd taken the day before had rehabilitated really well. On the 26th, we'd had a planned garage sale. About half an hour after it started, I went up to check the trap, and the confusion set in. Because there was a cat in there, all right, but it was an adult.
I thought it was a kitten. I believed that for a while, but it was an adult.
So, I stayed at the garage sale, my mum went out to the vet and delivered this newfound cat that we had never seen before. That was also very feral. The poor things were no doubt terrified, but also they were half wild, which was really sad. Wild and feral cats are really bad for the native animal population, and they're also a threat to your own pets. So our cat is an indoor cat, so luckily he can't get into fights with these cats that turn up from who knows where. And it's also really dangerous for the wild cats. There's roads and diseases, and I think they really just deserve so much better than to be let down by humans. Catching this second adult cat, which we kind of came to believe was the father, did put my mind at ease when it came to the kittens, because we hadn't seen any kittens since the 23rd and it was now the 26th. So I felt better knowing that, or hoping that they had another adult cat there looking after them. On the 27th, there were no more cat sightings. On the 28th, things started looking up. It had now been 4 full days since I had seen any of the kittens, and they now didn't have a mother fending for them, and they didn't have this potential father cat figure who was maybe, hopefully, getting them food. But I saw both the kittens. They were still alive, which I had been really quite worried about, and we caught the black one. I went up to the trap. This tiny and utterly ridiculously adorable little black kitten was in the trap, and I felt like a champion. And that evening, we caught another adult. By the time we caught the kitten, the vet had closed yet again, and they didn't have an after hours place for us to take it to. The vet had assured us that they would take any of the kittens that we found and the adults, and they were actually taking the adults to a feral cat sanctuary, so they weren't going to be put down. They were going to go live out their feral cat days and be looked after in a way that they weren't living in the wild. So we now had 2 crates. One with a little tiny adorable black kitten, which I fell in love with, and one with a very, very smelly adult cat. The little black kitten was extremely, extremely angry, but it still ate ravenously. I fed them both and spent quite a bit of time just talking to them and letting them get used to me. And although that little black cat had so much fierceness to it, it did get a bit used to me. And then on the 29th, the 8th day of knowing about these cats, the last little kitten was in the trap. I managed to get the kitten from the trap into the cage that had the little black kitten in it, and that calmed both of them down so much. You could tell they were both a lot more comfortable snuggled up together, and it was ridiculously adorable. Our vet was very shocked by the time we came in with 2 kittens and yet another adult cat. They didn't seem to know how we managed it, but finally it was done. We had caught 3 kittens, their mother, and 2 more adult cats. 2 of the adult cats didn't make it to the feral cat sanctuary as they were microchipped. So that is the story time, quite long and quite detailed as it was, of when we thought we were going to be catching a mother and her kittens and got 2 extra cats in the bargain. And I remember thinking, as I was going to catch that kitten in my hand, the first kitten, I was thinking how this was it. I was living out my Hope for Paws dreams. You know what? It didn't start with that kitten and then its siblings and its mother and then the 2 other adult cats. I've had a love and appreciation for animals with me my whole life. True, as a young child, I was petrified of dogs and would scream if I saw them on the opposite end of a beach. And when I say scream, I mean scream. I've grown up surrounded by animals. The first dog that came into my life who changed my perception of dogs was when I was 5, and from then on, she helped shape my true adoration for creatures of all shapes and sizes. I've known ducks, chickens, birds, rabbits, dogs, cats, fish, peahen, peacock, and a horse. And I'm probably, goats as well.
And you forgot mice, Romy.
And that's not even to mention the wild animals that frequent our garden every single day, and the wallabies, of which there are at least 6 on any given night, that are visible in any patch of our garden. We have parrots, wallabies, possums, bandicoots, potoroos, might be the same thing as bandicoots, and all sorts of magnificent birds. Not to mention a few mice and the occasional rat. The world is so full of amazing creatures, wild animals and pets that we hold close to our heart. Come to think of it, this wasn't my first rescue. It was probably my 6th. I would love to tell more stories about the animals that I have rescued or been a part of rescuing. Like this adorable dog that just turned up, just wandered down our driveway and I fell in love with. I think she was a Labrador, but it was many years ago and I can't quite remember, but I just sat with her and I wanted her to be mine forever and ever and ever and ever. Like the time I was home alone and all of a sudden 2 sheep ran down our driveway and they were very, very angry. Or like the time, and this wasn't a rescue, nor come to think of it with a sheep, which were just scary, the time I was again home alone and Castor suddenly started barking. I went to the door, looked out, and there was a Rottweiler
And a bull mastiff.
looking in at me. Animals are such a huge part of my life and of our world, and so many of them need looking after, speaking up for, and love that they should be given unconditionally, but unfortunately are not. Hope for Paws is an incredible, inspiring organisation that does so much work for good. Hope for Paws, I give you my wholehearted support, thanks, and this video. And now that is all from me, for now.